All right. We are live. I see the little thing. So we're going to give it a couple of more minutes, or actually one more minute, because it looks like we have a couple of people hopping on right now. But we will get started at the 12:04 mark.
12:04. So what do you do in the meantime? Do we have elevator music? Do we just,
I think we just we figure out where you are right now. Are you in Atlanta? Are you in Florida? Are you in Annapolis? Tell the people where you are.
I'm
Kevin's
in
all
it.
over the world.
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, at the CompTIA conference.
Nice.
Taking a short break here to do this webinar.
I love it. And we are grateful that you are because this is a really cool product that we came out with here. So I don't know if we actually need to
Cool.
wait until 12 before. It looks like people are popping up and we're recording it. So I'm changing my mind. Let's go ahead and get started. So, for all of you all who are joining us, welcome. You've got myself, Alex Corson, and our CEO, Kevin Lancaster, here live from Atlanta over at CompTIA, he was saying. And he's going to be hopping on a plane later on today. So, he's all over the place, but he is taking a minute to come on and introduce you all to the newest channel program product, MyITSpend. So after he does this, he's going to introduce you to what's in it for you, why we should be paying attention to it, and why it's important right now. And then I'm going to zing him with a couple of questions that I know you all are going to want to know. So, Kevin, I'll let you introduce yourself and start.
All right. Well, first let me figure out how to do this darn thing.
Oh,
Normally you have Matt or someone else driving. Some of the
do you
more
want me to?
competent. I got it here. I'm good to go. I'll just have to do that and put it in presentation mode, and there we go. All right. So hopefully you're seeing my screen. But so for those that don't know who I am, I founded a couple companies. I founded a large MSP IT services provider back in 2003 in the DC area. Been in this space for 20 plus years. So started in the MSP side, and then spun out a platform called ID Agent, a product called Dark Web ID. Did that back in 2017 ish, 15, 16, 17, somewhere around then. Sold that to Kaseya in 2019. Stayed on there for a little bit and then launched this channel program platform just over 2 years ago. And our goal with this platform was to basically build a two-sided marketplace that allows both the vendors that are looking to get in front of the channel and the channel that are looking to these vendors for their solutions to interact in a more effective and streamlined manner. And so we've launched this platform, and I'll go into some of the stats here. I won't stat you to death, but I think it's interesting to see kind of where we've gone just in the last couple of years, and just see how strong this platform is, and why it's resonating so well with the channel. So we've got just over 5,500 IT service providers on the platform, about 10,000 users. One side of the platform, you can do product reviews. It's great because we've got 5,000 plus product reviews. And then part of the product that we're going to talk about today, MyITSpend, which is attached to our initial product that was built for MSPs called Navistack. We've had 30,000 products added to that platform. And so we are now the largest digital marketplace serving the channel on the planet. So really excited about that. And, so today we're going to talk about how we got here real quick, and then we'll get into some good and bad and the ugly of the marketplace, and then what we're doing to try to really help the industry. And we'll focus on the free aspects of the platform, and then we'll talk about MyITSpend and some of the things that are out there for you to take advantage of. But this marketplace has grown obviously quite steadily over the last 25, 26, 27 years or so, going back to the early 2000s. You can see the MSP's model starting to take shape. Before it was just, I wouldn't say just, but it was break fix. It was, computer repair. And then you started to see folks get savvy and smart about creating subscription models, recurring revenue models. You see private equity starting to take notice of this marketplace right around 2010, really first investing in vendors. 2012, you start to see this new crop of vendors come in and really build purpose-built MSP tools for this marketplace. MSP in 2016, 2017 starts to realize that the MSP recurring revenue model is really amazing. It's fantastic, and then accelerated quite dramatically around the time of the pandemic. And you're seeing now, and annual compounded growth estimates between 11 and 12%. So you see this marketplace has evolved quite significantly over the last 25-ish, 26 years. So the good news and the bad news. As mentioned, the good news is that the marketplace is established, it's evolved, and the models out there for creating monthly recurring or annual recurring revenue. The blueprints are out there. That stack is out there, and the composition of the stack is pretty well defined, pretty well mature. So that's great. That's great for new entrants, right? It's really well defined, and I think even the buyer, the business, business consumer, kind of has an understanding what they're getting into when they're looking for an MSP, right? So that's I think a great element of the marketplace. As I mentioned, you're seeing estimates between 11 and 12% annual compounded growth rates in this marketplace. So it's very healthy. It's growing at a very steady clip. That is further backed by private equity coming in and investing in rolling up these MSPs. We have a series of M&A roadshows. We've had a couple this year. We've got two more, one coming up in Dallas, another one coming up in Newark, where we talk about the different models and why PE is looking at this marketplace and the different roll-up strategies that are out there. So we're in a very healthy marketplace, which is great. And it's bucked the trend, certainly from an investment standpoint over the last 2 or 3 years as the market is kind of trying to figure out where it wanted to place its bets, and it's squarely placed its bet in the MSP marketplace. So these are some of the pieces of good news that are out there. Bad news is that everybody is now starting to look the same, right? As I mentioned, the stack, we've had 30,000 products added to our Navistack platform. And so we can see that, this is the core stack out here on the right-hand side. Here's kind of the core elements that you see in about 82, 83% of the stacks that are out there. And so one challenge is that I think the industry is facing is that there's an identity crisis, right? There's stack parity, and that's leading to that second challenge is of really how do you differentiate yourself as an MSP moving forward? There's parity in the stack and what you're providing. There's parity now in the service, and there's pricing parity. You're seeing the average MSP is working with roughly 20 core products. And they're sourcing those core products from 10 different vendors, just over 10 vendors. But this is really creating this drive of parity, and it's something that we're really focused on helping the marketplace figure out how to differentiate themselves moving forward and really accelerate growth and capture, that annual compounded growth rate that we're seeing. Another bad news for the folks that are in the marketplace is that it's crazy low barrier of entry to the marketplace these days. It's very easy to enter the marketplace, to hang a shingle and say that I'm a managed service provider. They're templated websites. As I mentioned, the stack is pretty well defined. There are a number of in-person events, online events, peer groups that are out there. They're specifically designed to help the industry figure out who they are and who they're going to be when they grow up. But that's leading to a deluge of new marketplace entrants. This is organic. You've seen in years past, you'd have roughly 1,500 to maybe 2,000 new entrants annually, but you're seeing this number creeping north of 4,000 new MSPs. And so that's the testament to how strong this marketplace is, but it's also a testament to the low barrier of entry. And that's something that I think that the industry needs to be concerned with. They're thinking about. Next thing is eroding margins, right? It's when you have stack parity, service parity, everybody sounds the same, and you have many of the large vendors now becoming platform vendors and driving pricing down. That's starting to drive margins down within the MSPs and their stacks. And so you see a lot of it's great that there's an element of the marketplace that's really trying to push the envelope, trying to pushing the pricing paradigm and pushing it up. But all in all, lower barrier of entry and margin erosion are going to be challenges for this industry moving forward in particular. Another maybe kind of blind spot for a lot of folks is this really interesting now growing level of competition coming, depending on how I look at it, coming downstream from this trusted advisor, VAR, reseller space that are typically serviced by these TSDs that are out there. Some of those, large cloud service providers that were historically being focused on telco, they're all looking at our MSP marketplace as a very ripe and growth oriented marketplace. And so this is another area of concern, I think, for the industry. They got to be thinking about not just the new organic upstarts coming in, maybe call them the ankle biters coming in from the bottom, but then you have some pretty savvy, sophisticated trusted advisors and VARs and resellers out there that are now moving downstream and really trying to take advantage of the annual recurring revenue models that the MSPs have proven extremely effective. So these are some things that we really need to think about as a group. And then this is kind of a double-edged sword. Good news, again, this is obviously validation of the marketplace, but there's a mass consolidation. You're seeing it just in the number of new private equity entities that are coming in and creating their own platforms. They're rolling up MSPs. If you'd have looked even 2 years ago, there was maybe 2 or 3 different models. Now there are dozens of models, whether it's acquire and let the operator, the owner operate that acquired asset, or whether you become a part of a platform play and your stack is normalized and your operations are normalized. And so this is a really interesting thing. It's good in the sense that it's validating the marketplace and it's really helping to drive valuations, but it's also a challenge because I think one of the big things with this is that it's really stressing the resource pool, the talent pool that's out there. It's making it harder to attract and retain high-end talent when you have larger organizations that can afford to pay more, especially at a time when margins might be challenged. And so we bring this stuff up to say that these are the things, these are the elements of the industry that we thought about as we started to launch channel program. How can we have a meaningful impact again on both sides of the industry? But really specifically, if you can't support a healthy ecosystem, an MSP ecosystem, and help them differentiate and grow their business, then on the other hand, for the vendors, there is no industry to sell into, and so we're really focused on helping the MSPs. That's why we've launched a series of tools, free and paid tools, to help them organize their business and really take advantage of this potential growth that's out there. Mentioned kind of my background is that, in scaling both MSPs and vendors, I think it's important to know that you've seen this play out before, right? With this platform, Dark Web ID, this was really about helping MSPs break down the barrier, the cybersecurity barriers. It was a very simple concept. The initial prototype of Dark Web ID was very complex. We spun it out of a government program that we were running. But we said, look, MSPs are having a hard time selling cybersecurity, and this goes back to 2016, 2017, what have you. Let's help them really, key in on what's tangible. The password's out there. Take that to your customer and say, this is why I've been trying to, sell you all these different cybersecurity solutions that you're not buying. And so we look at disrupting the marketplace and simplifying things. We have a track record of doing that, and that's why we're trying to replicate that same success with that platform, with this MyITSpend platform. You'll see some of the parallels here momentarily. So this is now where we're at that point where, as an organization, we talk about the need to mature operations and differentiate, or die. Might be a little extreme, but that's the way we kind of look at these things. You have to evolve. You have to constantly evolve, stay out in front, differentiate, or be obsolete. And so first thing we did is we launched a tool called Navistack, and that's free for anybody to register and to utilize. The great thing about Navistack is that you go in, you enter the vendors that you're working with, the products that you're working with, and you can visualize your technology stack. And I'll show you an example of that here on the platform momentarily. But this is the first step of really helping an MSP understand what's going on in their business, because and I'm sure folks listening in, they can all relate, but 95, 97% of MSPs manage their stack, manage their vendor relationships with an Excel spreadsheet. And as to evolve and to mature as an organization, you have to move away from that. So our thought was like, first thing is let's launch this Navistack tool. Let's help MSPs at least visualize, where they are. So if you can see the visual format and you can see the gaps, that helps you really understand, what you're working with, and you can see the redundancies as well. What's interesting is that you can see some of these product categories, like backup, for example. You see MSPs putting in 2, 3, or 4 different backup vendors. Some might have been inherited from legacy customers, but you really start to get a full picture of what you're working with from a stack perspective. So you can see that with Navistack, and there's some other benefits that we'll show real quick as I show the platform here in a moment. Next step is with MyITSpend. Again, come in, start to visualize your stack. But the next step is you really have to understand what your expenses are, right? You have to understand, what you're spending each month on each vendor. But I think even more importantly, you need to know your contract start dates and end dates. That's one of the big topics out there, and again, folks listening in, you kind of know that's probably one of the top top issues or complaints that are out there on some of the forums like Reddit. It's, oh, I got automatically renewed or what have you. And there are there are different there are different camps when it comes to contracts and renewals, what have you. But it really is incumbent upon the MSP to understand their contract start dates, renewal dates, but most importantly, kind of that notice period, that notice date. So maybe you have a subscription with a vendor, and you have to give 60 days or 90-day notice, right? You have to make sure that you're entering that in here and you're getting the reminders. That way you don't get automatically renewed. So these are just basic things that we've wanted to put in place, basically safeguards to help MSPs start that maturing process. And there's a number of downstream benefits we'll touch on of that. But getting that visual representation with Navistack, starting to manage all your vendor contracts, start dates, end dates, the variables, your contracts, those are absolutely core critical for MSPs moving forward. Next step is we want to help MSPs, basically differentiate and monetize. One of the challenges again is that there's stack parity and that there's service parity. What we want MSPs to do is take this tool into their prospects or their customers. They can start with customers, or they can send it out as to unlimited number of prospects. But they have to get their customers and prospects to understand you're not just there to help manage their email and their backup, and their their O365 backup, right? You're there to be an IT services provider. You're there to be an advocate or a resource for your customer. And if you're not, say it publicly, shame on you. You need to be thinking more broadly than just I'm keeping their email up, I'm keeping their email flowing and backups, backing up data and keeping you secure. You need to be in there and be really a technology advocate for your customers. So what we allow you to do with this tool is to send a link to your customer, send a link to your prospect. You can either have them sit down independently. You could do it as part of a service. You could do it as part of a QBR. You could do it as part of a sales call. But sit down and get them to start putting in all of their third-party technologies that they're working with, because you want to know, are they working with HubSpot? Are they working with Salesforce? Are they working with 1, 2, 10 different project management tools? You want to have a better understanding of their entire technology spend, not just what they're going to spend with you. Because if you're able to get in there and help them shape their technology spend, if you help them to really help them to see that they have redundancy in some of the tools that they're using internally, then you become more of a true an advisor, or more of a a team player with your customer. And this is something that I think every MSP needs to be thinking about moving forward, because again, it's the lack of differentiation, it's the stack parity that is going to really absorb a lot of these, or it's gonna knock a lot of these MSPs over. Because if they're not in there as that trusted advisor using something like MyITSpend to help customers get a grasp on their expenses and understand their entire technology spend, then the next MSP is going to come in and they're going to differentiate, and the customer is going to be saying, why aren't you working with us to help us figure this stuff out? And we see this play out time and time again. And so this is one of the reasons why we help create these let's create these tools to help MSPs get ready for this. So again, talked about the lead generation and differentiation. This is really what it's all about. It's using this as a white label tool. your customers, your prospects log into this tool as a MyITSpend. It doesn't say channel program. This is your tool to interact with your customers moving forward. Uh, and then lastly, I think a really interesting byproduct of this is that we are forcing, habit change, behavior change for the MSPs. They're starting to add their vendor technologies. We're seeing MSPs adding not just their core stack, but they're adding in their own QuickBooks subscription. They're adding in their own CRM subscriptions into Navistack. And what that's doing is that's preparing them for these M&A conversations that may take place over the coming months or coming years. First thing that an acquirer will do in due diligence, they'll ask for all of your materials organized, right? Because you want to make their job that much easier. So we're helping the MSP actually get ready for due diligence with this tool as well. And so these are the primary elements of the platform that we've built out. I show you what that looks like here real quick in practice. And hopefully, Alex, you have to tell me if you guys can see my other tabs here. I just clicked
I
on my.
can't. I can only see the thank you on your slide deck.
All right, I'm gonna share this tab. How about that?
Oh man. Guys, he's going rogue.
There we go. Did I get this? You see
You
this
got
tab
it.
now? All
Yep.
right. All right. So as I mentioned, first step, and this is free for every MSP, every IT service provider, any organization to come in and really start to fill in your stack. Start to figure out, all right, what do you have in your arsenal of technologies? We actually started with the idea that there were roughly 29 core solutions that are either uh, used as part of your service delivery or internally. Like your RMM is something that you use as it's internal, it's part of service delivery, it's not necessarily customer facing, right? But so we started with the idea of about 29 of those. I think we're up to 70 or so core products or services that an MSP would use to either deliver services to their customer or to manage their MSP. So you've got everything in here from your authentication, your backup and recovery, SaaS backup, communications. You get down to a category like cybersecurity, you can see just how broad it is, right? Some vendors have multiple products. Many vendors are still point product out there, but if you're looking for a phishing and security awareness training organization, you click on this area. We've got now 1,600 different products loaded in here from about 900 vendors. So chances are we have your vendor in here. So if you're working with, let's see, we're working with, Breach Secure Now, Art's company. First thing you do is you say, I'm using this tool. You can say I'm either a current partner or you're looking for more information. If you're a current partner, it'll send a message to the points of contact over Breach Secure Now. Say, hey, good news. Your partner has said they want access to your portal, uh, and they can grant you access to the enablement materials that they have into the portal. It's another element of this platform that's free for every MSP. I'll show you that in a second. But so you can say I'm a partner, or if you're looking for more information, this is where we'll do a handshake and you'll be put in contact with that particular vendor. And it's the only time that we'll reveal your identity to anybody in this platform is if you opt in and say, hey, I'm looking for more information for this vendor, we'll make that connection. But outside of that, this platform is completely anonymous, and we're gonna obviously keep it that way. So it's adding a product and make it just super simple to add these products to your stack. As I mentioned, one of the great byproducts or benefits, a couple of them actually. Anytime you add one of your vendors here, you'll start to see every one of their events populate into your feed. And so we've got something in the neighborhood of 1,600 events that have been added to this to our industry calendar. So this is great. You'll get a curated feed of all the events coming up that are a part of your stack, and you get a weekly email every Monday showing upcoming events for that week. So this is a nice little feature. But one of the really cool aspects of this platform is that we've got now 150 or so vendors that are in the platform, and many of them are using it as their PRM, or they're a way to communicate with their channel. So if you're a Blackpoint cyber partner, you can click in here and you can start to chat with your counterparts over at Blackpoint. So we made communicating with your vendors that much easier as well, right? And so if you're looking for their enablement materials, you can do all of this stuff in one platform versus having to log into 30 different platforms that are out there. And so every day we're adding new vendors. We've got groups like Pax8 that they're in here. They've got their line card added in here as well. So again, we're making finding technologies, interacting with vendors that much easier. I mentioned that industry calendar here. I'll just click on it. You can see the events that are this week. I'm obviously out here at ChannelCon in Atlanta, but you can see the other events through the remainder of the week, and you see that there are still, what's the last day of the month, but you can see, there are quite a few events. Again, I think we have 1,600 events that have been added to this calendar. So definitely use as a resource. One of the, I think, other benefits of registering, it's a free tool for every MSP out there. Hopping over to vendor contracts, as I mentioned, this is part of that maturing process. This is part of my IT spend. This is the $99 a month product. Very easy to get up and running. So what we want you to do is if you add vendors to your stack, they'll pre-populate. So if you want to add a contract that's already been added, you can pick, maybe you're using, Network Glue. You can add that in here, and you can go through the little workflow editor and add your contract term, your start dates, end dates. We have a CSV upload coming here in the next couple of weeks, and then we're tying into the PSAs as well to make this easy. Some use the PSAs. Challenge with that is that you don't normally have your vendor contract start dates and end dates in your PSAs. But again, this exercise for most MSPs is going to probably take about an hour, but the insight and the peace of mind that you get by adding these in here is really is unparalleled. So you'll see your expense by month, you'll see your expense annualized, you'll see all your vendor contracts, start dates, end dates, the calendar view of them, and then you'll get alerts of when you need to proactively talk about your notice of your UCAS or whatever solution that you're working with. And so again, this is really designed to make your lives that much easier. You put in the hour to get everything up and running, and then you've got that peace of mind that you get full visibility in your contract, your spend, and what have you. The last element I'll mention here is managing your customers, right? So you can start entering your customers, the endpoints, number of products that you're actually providing them. So I'll show you what that looks like. So you can go in and start adding, so this particular company, Third Gate Hotel, maybe these are the elements of your stack that you're providing. You can see the gaps, the potential revenue opportunities that you might be missing out. But as I mentioned, you're giving this link to your customers, and what your customer is doing is they're filling out their expense, right? So they're using Zoom, they're using this help desk product, they're using QuickBooks, they've got HubSpot. You want this visibility, you want this type of data, you want to be able to see the additional expense that your customer has out there, not just the expense that they have with you. And so the combination of viewing contracts, their contracts, helping them stay on top of their subscription, their overall technology costs, and you tracking what you're providing in a visual format and what you can provide in a visual format is really where you need to be going as an MSP. That's where this marketplace is evolving toward. That's the differentiation. That's the level of service that your customers are coming to expect as a service provider, as a trusted service provider to your customers. And so, I'm trying to think if I missed anything core on the platform. Let's see, Alex, tell me,
I don't
am
think
I
you
missing
have
anything?
anything that you missed, but I do have a trick question for you if you want to
Sure.
stop sharing, because I know that we've got quite a few MSPs on in different channels, and we have always been on channel program has always been sort of that thought leadership and guiding MSPs to succeed. So with my IT spend, which is more important? This is a trick question, so I don't know if you can get it wrong, but which is more important, the never missing a renewal and getting in control, or turning it into a lead generating, revenue producing engine?
Well, obviously the answer is yes and yes.
Yes,
Um,
there we go.
I think in general, well, they're equally important, right? Matt, I like Matt's, and when Matt's out there, speaking with stuff, you know, people hate, whether it's a business or in your personal life, you hate to be automatically renewed, right? You hate to, open the credit card statement and see, Netflix pops up. You forgot to cancel Netflix, right? From a personal standpoint, everybody can relate to that scenario. So it's even more meaningful and impactful with a business. Maybe it's a $5,000, $10,000 subscription. Maybe it's a $40,000 subscription, and we can enforce it. We see this scenario play out time and time again, right? So I think in the moment, missing a renewal or missing the opportunity even to renegotiate with a vendor, I think is a pain point. It's painful, and it's really important to stay on top of that. I think, just practically speaking, I think it's harder to differentiate. It's hard to, do lead generation. That was, again, going back to the ID agent days. That was one of the greatest things about that tool, is that it broke down the barrier. It made it super easy. Some, lacked confidence to go in and say, "Hey, is this your password?" And you had to be very tactful about it. But it made it easy to have that conversation, the security conversation. And so with my IT spend, because subscriptions, again, the MSPs and the folks on the call can relate to this, right? Subscriptions have gotten out of control. The number of subscriptions that you have, personal life, business life, is out of control. But think about it. You're in a technology space. You're pretty aware of it. Your customers aren't thinking about this day in and day out, and they're getting auto renewed, and their expenses are growing, exponentially, right? So I think going to your customer and saying, "Hey, we're offering this, as a you can offer as a paid or a non-paid service, right? It could be part of a QBR. It could be a paid service. We have got plenty of MSPs that are charging anywhere between $9.99 a month, $199 a month, based on the size of their customer. So I think going back to customers having a meaningful and different and collaborative conversation, I think is extremely important. And then, as I mentioned, from the prospecting standpoint, again, we don't care if you send it out to one prospect or you send it out to 10,000 prospects. I know that's a little extreme, but again, we had that similar mentality with ID Agent, right? It's, that tool was it wasn't initially designed that way, but it became a tool that you could go out and you could run a scan of the domain, right? And there was a period where we said unlimited. You can do unlimited scans, but we really wanted to help MSPs drive their business, right? And so I think it's a long way of saying that both are equally important, but I think what's going to be challenged is that, again, there's so many new entrants coming into this marketplace, and if you're not having a differentiated conversation, if you're going in there and saying, "Here's our stack versus their stack," we're $150 per seat per month, and they're 149 per seat per month, you're gonna have a hard time, you're gonna have a hard time differentiating and winning that business. For going in and talking about how you're helping them manage their holistic technology stack and expense, that's a much different conversation than just saying, "Hey, apples, apple orange," or whatever that analogy is. So
No, it was a
yes.
good easy layup that I gave you on that one, because I think it's something that's important. But I think you also may have just foreshadowed that it's a flat fee for a while, but then it's probably gonna change.
Yeah, I mean, I think as just like anything, as things
Pay attention,
scale, I
guys.
mean, yeah, no, I think that things scale. We did something similar with ID Agent, where the first early adopters were grandfathered. They had unlimited scans, and I think they had unlimited domains that they can monitor. With this, we wanna have an impact, right? And so we've priced this, the upfront, the My IT spend, we've priced it at $99 a month. Try to make it very palatable, very affordable for MSPs. If you could send the links out to one customer, you can send it out to 100 customers and 1,000 prospects, right? At some point, we'll probably revise that pricing model, but yeah, I mean, I think for us for now, it's really an exercise in getting out there and having an impact in the marketplace. And yeah, same idea with ideation. We wanted to make sure that we had an impact. And so yes, so that's where we are from a pricing standpoint.
Got it. So foreshadowing, guys, make sure that you're paying attention to everything he just said. But also, one of my last question, it's a sub question. One, I just want to address one thing that I think a lot of the MSPs are going to be thinking is how do we get our people or our clients to fill everything out, right? Um, it's a common rebuttal that we hear or a common question. And so if we can just take that head on, and guys, you're gonna have to make them. It is what it is. Like they're gonna want to have control of their own finances. You're gonna want to have control over yours. So it's a necessary evil. You're either gonna do it on an Excel sheet or pray. And this is going to give you the tool to be a little bit more proactive about it, and as well as being in control of your subscription, your renewals, and oh, by the way, seeing when theirs is up too. So that's just something I wanted to address quickly before I ask you my last question, which is if you are an MSP looking to create a campaign around this, how would you, since you've done this before a million times, how
Mhm.
would you do this? And depending on the answers, we'll probably make something as a takeaway for the guys that are watching and gals.
Yeah, no, well, look, again, we're going to lean into the enablement, piece and really support the partners. But no, I think it's you do customers and prospects. It's sitting down and saying it's time to get a hold. It's time to get insight into your overall technology expense. We've been doing our part in keeping you up and running, keeping you safe, secure, email flowing, keeping you backed up. But now it's time to really understand your overall technology expense, your overall technology exposure and disposition. We will have a really interesting announcement in about 2 weeks when it comes to your technology exposure and security. So that'll definitely help
These
the
Easter eggs are
conversation.
crazy in this webinar, by the way. The
Yeah,
foreshadowing and Easter eggs that Kevin does every time he does some sort of a webinar, just make sure you come to all of them.
yeah, no, it's yeah, this will be we'll do another webinar on that specifically, but um, yeah, I think the initial conversation again, whether it's for customers, you're doing a QBR, you're sitting down and it's a very natural conversation, right? It's we're going to set you up in MyITSpend. We want you guys to have a full understanding of what your technology spend is, right? If they're not doing it, you force them to do it. You sit down and say, all right, I'm coming in, or we're doing this online or what have you. We're going to sit down and really enter all of your technology expenses and help you get on top of your technology stack and your technology expenses. Again, you as an MSP need to know this stuff. It's not just a nice to know what the overall expense is, but it's also that third party risk, right? It's also when you get into the compliance frameworks, it's the exposure that customer has. It's not just what you're providing, but it's also helping to further that compliance conversation with the customers as well. So I think from that standpoint, it's a very natural conversation with customers, and I think from a prospect standpoint, it's hey, this is how we're different, right? We're an organization that yeah, we're gonna keep you up and running. I've said this several times, but we're about managing your entire technology stack, your entire technology expense, and your entire technology exposure, right? Those are the three elements of this platform that those are the parts of the conversation you want to have with those customers, right? Again, going head to head against the MSP down the street that's saying, hey, I can get you Microsoft licensing, and I can, do your backup. You're coming in and saying, look, we're going to manage your entire network. We're going to do all the things that we do as an MSP. But we're also going to help you manage your overall technology expense, your technology disposition, your technology exposure, even beyond what we provide. That's providing a holistic service to your customer. That's where this industry is going. It's not just going to, you know, AI is going to be very impactful and it's going to help. It's also going to hurt again downstream from a margin standpoint. And so I think one of our fears is that the industry is going to rush to AI the heck out of the industry, and that's going to lead to a ton of disengagement. It's going to lead to a ton of disenfranchisement from the customer standpoint. And so it's really about going in and saying, let us talk to you about your holistic technology disposition. Let us talk to you about your holistic technology expense, and let's help you manage it. Let's help you get on top of that. We'll do our part, right? But we got to help you get smarter about what you're doing from a technology investment and a technology expense. And there's some really interesting anecdotal last thing I'll say, I guess, in summation in this webinar, but I've seen some really interesting use cases where an MSP, one in particular, was a HubSpot certified organization, right? They realized that something like 80% of their expense wasn't that high. I think it was like 70% of their customers used HubSpot. So they're now specifically going in and saying, look, we can move your licensing over, so they're getting residual from a HubSpot licensing standpoint. It's generating additional services. Now, again, that's a little bit off to the left, but the number of just different scenarios we're starting to see with this tool, because you're getting deeper visibility into your customers' technology and their expense, it's generating a ton of really interesting revenue opportunities. And so, this is the early days. We launched just about 2 months ago. So we're going to have some really exciting integration announcements, security announcements. So stay tuned. But we want to really reward the early adopters, help them get in, and really help them impact their business in a meaningful way and a very cost-effective way.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you were saying probably rings true for everybody on this call. It's all about differentiation at this point because there are so many competitors, not even MSPs. I mean, MSPs are pretty respectful of one another. We call them competitors on our Accelerate program, and that's not even what I'm concerned about. It's more about the top down, where you've got these larger organizations that are creating MSP arms, bar arms, resellers. They're leaning into what our MSPs are doing, and so the MSPs have to have that personal approach, have to look at that business holistically. And I think that you're hitting the nail on the head, and it's the timing for this type of a product is right on the money. So this has been fun. Do you have anything else that you want to add before I cut it off and let these good people get back to their days? And a couple of people in South Africa that are signing up, that are trying to get home and get to their kids.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you got questions, feel free obviously to jump on the website. There's channelprogram.com. I think there's a link top right, and then you can certainly send me an email. It's just kevin@channelprogram.com if you had additional questions. But yeah, look, like I said, I've been in the space for quite a while now, and we want to have a real, true, meaningful impact on this industry, and this is really why we're so passionate about helping MSPs, get organized, become more efficient, effective, grow, and become better MSPs. So yes, that's all we have to say about that.
Yep. And just to close out, guys, thank you all so much for being a part of it. We've got a lot of chats happening. We've got a couple of signups that already happened, so you'll be getting onboarded shortly. We also have, and thank you for the compliments, guys. I appreciate that. As far as the question on what we do from a management standpoint, you're getting all of the information. So you're getting the subscription dates, you're getting the proactive information that you are going to have to negotiate with the vendors, but it does not do the negotiating for you. So just make sure that you are aware of that. That's why they pay you the big bucks, guys. You're the MSPs. You're the ones that are going to be vying and advocating for your clients.
Yes,
But
that's
other than
I'm
that,
seeing those. I'm seeing those questions. Yeah, Eric, if
yep.
you want to send me an email, we did cover that, so you can manage your customer contracts. They're the clients. You can manage their start dates, end dates. All of that's in here as well.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Have a great one, and we'll see you at the next time.
All right, thanks.